But the basic principle of knowing about something rather than just knowing its name is something that you stuck to, is it?
Yes, of course. You have to learn. These are kind of disciplines in the field of science that you have to learn. That to know when you know and when you don't know, and what it is you know and what it is you don't know. And it's you got to be very careful not to confuse yourself.
How else did you try and
progress?
mold your methods of thinking, the way you looked at the world?
Well, we had a lot of little games. Like he would say at the dinner table, he'd think of some little problem. And he'd say, suppose you were a Martian, we were Martians, and we came down to this Earth, and we'd look at it from the outside. And I can't explain exactly what he meant, but there's a way of looking something anew, as if you never saw it before, for the first time, and asking questions about it as if you were different. For instance, if you would ask, later I did some little amusing research for a paper in college on sleep. But it started with a question of his kind. Suppose you were a Martian who never slept. They didn't have sleep. You didn't have to sleep. And you came down to this Earth and you saw these people who had this funny property that every day for a certain amount of time they had to lie down and become unconscious. And then the natural question would be, how does it feel to get unconscious? What happens to you? Ideas run along and suddenly they stop? Or do they just run more and more slowly? But what happens to your ideas? How does it feel to become unconscious? So I tried to answer the question. What happens when you become unconscious?
But do you find that these days you still, when you're faced with a particularly difficult problem, when you're absolutely stuck, you tend to say, let's look at it like a Martian would look at it and
sometimes there are lots of things that people did. For example, Maxwell put the equations together. The Faraday, he formulated the equations mathematically with some model in his head. And then Dirac got his answer by just...
The most enduring legacy from his father was not just learning to question the physical world, but an enthusiasm for the inquiry, which at 54 Feynman still shares today.